Do 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 do. I give her all my love. That's all I do. And if you saw my love, you'd love her too. And I love her. She gives me everything, and tenderly my kiss, my lover brings. She brings to me. I don't know if that's the words. Hi, what's going on, guys? Welcome to everybody. What's up, Rue? Robbie Bloodshed. Yeet, bitch, saying yeet. Hold on, I got to start this thing. Okay, now we're rolling. Yeet, bitch, saying yeet. What's up, Chris? I believe that's the Creedence Clearwater song. Sorry, I was already behind schedule. I'm on a deadline. There he is, the rumor who cannot talk tonight. Rumor himself. Chris, how you doing, Chris? Welcome to the show. It's official. We are all go for the show. How y'all doing tonight? I'm doing pretty good. Under a tight deadline for this video presentation for a school that needs to get finished. I'll be very happy when it's done. I can get back to some personal projects that I have been toiling away on. I had to put them on the shelf to make the butter. You know what I'm saying? You got to make the butter. I'm glad you're peachy, Chris. I'm glad you are peachy. I have a interesting idea for tonight's show. You'll see. First, I just want to update you and let you know that some things are coming down the pike. A couple of things are coming down the pike. I have some pizza punk interviews. I don't really know what kind of interviews they are. I guess you'd call them pizza punk interviews. They're coming. If you're a fan of Return of the Living Dead 3 or Reanimator, you're really, really going to enjoy these episodes. Additionally, you may or may not have seen, I did the first episode of The Stooges Show with my friend Nick. Shout out to Nick. Nick was really great. I don't know about you guys. I thought Nick crushed it in his co-host position. Nick knows way more about Iggy Pop and The Stooges than I do. I have a pretty good working knowledge of them, but he really knows his mamma jam. What's up, Javis? How are you? Javis Bickle. Yeah, Nick's the man when it comes to that. So we're going to do a second episode, probably not next week, the week after that, something like that. Whoa, look who it is, guys. It's Peter. We haven't seen him in a while. Peter, how are you, my friend? I hope you're well. Hope life has been treating you well. Nice of you to join us live. Always good to see you. Hey, what's up, Parmy? Have I seen, Parmy wants to know if I have seen the Robo documentary, and the answer is no. I definitely want to check it out. I remember when that thing was being put together. I know some of the people in it. This weird hair situation going on. Fix my hair. There we go. It's better. Yeah, I definitely want to see it. Is it out? Is it on VOD yet? Don't know. I don't know. Let me know. Yeah, dude. So nice to see Peter, man. We missed you, Pete. We missed you. So yeah, so the Stooges show is not going to be weekly, I don't think. Maybe it's bi-weekly. We're still figuring that out. Keep your eyes peeled for the Stooges show. It's just called Stooges Talking Iggy, search engine optimized. Stooges Talking Iggy, you know. We're the Stooges and we're talking Iggy and the Stooges. So check out that first episode. It's already on the channel. What else can I tell you? How else can I do? I gotta tell you, the comment sections have been really funny on all the videos. Peter says he got locked out of his Facebook. I'm so sorry to hear that, Pete. I hope the situation has resolved itself. The YouTube comment sections are hilarious on some of these videos, man. Like, I took some screenshots. If you're on the Lodi Facebook page, go check it out. They are hilarious. It's just like guys who just you know, and it's so funny because only us nerds would be like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that 12 Hits from Hell came after Static Age. You know, like, we're the nerds. But it's just funny because this guy's like, you know, trying to be all morally superior about stuff or whatever, like knowledge superior about stuff and doesn't know what he's talking about. So I thought that was kind of funny. I read every single comment, or I try to at least. I don't know if I hit every single comment. I try to read every single comment on these videos. I try to comment on the comments because I'm trying to keep the engine going. The algorithms, the almighty algorithms, they need pumping and dumping. So with that said, I don't think I have any new business except for one thing. I want to give a shout out to Jon, Voice of Doom. I guess it'll be one of two shout outs, really. I want to give a shout out to Jon, Voice of Doom, who blew my mind today when he posted. And this is why I love our freaking group so much, because I feel like, yeah, we get a lot of the BS filler that you see in every other, you know, Misfits nerd fan group, but like all the memes and stuff, but like we get these like real interesting chunks and tidbits. And Jon, Voice of Doom, posted the most awesome renditions of Misfit songs that I have heard in a really, really long time. I was like, whoa. I mean, just absolutely stellar. Now, because I am recording this for a podcast, in addition to the YouTube show, in addition to one other thing, I'm going to have to cut it out. So if you are listening to the podcast version of this in the future, I'm sorry, you'll just have to seek it out. They're called Orange Hell. Orange Hell. I'm trying to decide what I should do. All right, first and foremost, before we get to Orange Hell, because we're gonna take a quick look at this. So awesome. First, we have some business to attend to. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it?
Gonna talk about the Misfits right now. He's a nerd about this stuff, obsessed anyhow. Jeff never shuts his face, always needs to talk. Might show some weight if he went out for a walk. Do you think Danzig cares? He doesn't care. He's out into ranch.
Yeah, guys, hold on. I had a red gel that was on my light, my backlight behind me, and it fell off. And I can't do the show without the gel. Hold on a second. Just a moment. There we go. Brilliant! Isn't it so much better with the red gel? Hey, what's up, Ballad of the Broken? I did not get a haircut. Well, I kind of did. You know what my wife does? My wife shaves around the side of my head like this. Like, she goes all the way around. She leaves the top. And it's been slowly turning into a devil lock. I didn't even mean for it to happen. It just sort of has been happening, and I like it. So I left it. But I just I don't know. Just try and listen. It's so nice to not work in the office. You know what I mean? Yo, we got Paulie Seacrest in the house, man. This dude watches all the vids and comments too. What's up, Paul? How are you? Are you on your shift right now for work? What's going on? Hope you're well. That ballad says, that's what I do. Always keep the sides short and then too long. It is a classic. It's a classic, man. And usually I hide it because it looks terrible. It looks terrible now, but I hide it under, oh God, what's going on here? I hide it underneath my hat. Having a bad hair day, man. Go live on the internet. You want your hair to look nice. Oh my God, this is so bad. I feel terrible about this. Pulling out a classic. Sorry. All right, now we're done with this. Okay. Pulled out a classic. The video business media hat. You can't go wrong. Yeah, Paul is doing the grind right now at work. Cool, man. Glad you can join us. Thank you. What's up, Word? How you doing? Yes, it is kind of a reference. And it is, if you don't know what Stuck in Lodi is, what I know Stuck in Lodi be, this is going to be a really fun episode because you're in for such a surprise tonight. I've been wanting to do this episode for a while. And then, Joe was texting me. He was like, here's some ideas for episodes. And in it was Stuck in Lodi. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's time to pull out Stuck in Lodi. But Ballad says, for your logo, did you miss Horror Business back cover? Yeah, yes, that is, and that's what's on my hat. This hat is the original Video Business Media. Yes, that is what I used. 100% mixed the skulls from Halloween and the logo from Horror Business, which has always kind of been my logo. Video Business looks really cool in the logo form. I think you can kind of see it. You can see it on my hat. But when you spell it in plain print, it does not look that great. Yeah, that's true. Mike says Doyle never has had a bad hair day. I would agree. But listen, it's time for us to get down to business here. And before we can even get to Orange Hell, well, let's give a shout out to our Patreons. I promised my Patreons. And what is the Patreon? You can check that out for yourself in the description. I'm not going to talk about it right here. We'll talk about it a little bit later into the show. But I need to shout out my Patreons because that's what you do when you get Patreons. So I'm shouting out. These are the first Patreons, okay? Here they are. Starting off, we got Kevin45, a.k.a. Kevin Von Spur. Salute you, man. We have Robbie Peterson. We have Dr. Airlift. We have Cody Crypt. We got Honolulu Babylon. We got Rue Morgue and John Voice of Doom. We have Ratty. We have Adam Harmless. And we have Adam. All Patreons. And I just want to shout you out and thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support because we are trying to take things to the next level. I have to tell you, I am already upgrading the setup. Buying this component that I'm going to use to connect my Blackmagic Cinema camera. And I am hoping that I will have upgraded the camera quality, couple of bells and whistles in the works to up the quality of the show, of which I have been putting off for a very long time. It's time to take things to the next level. So we're in the process of doing that. It might be getting a little green screen action. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I can make it work or not. So I wanted to shout out my Patreons. Thank you so much for your support. And I promised you, I don't know what I called it in the thing, but here is the shout out. Hold on. Wait. Here it is. We're going to do it. I don't know if we do this every week, but yeah. Ready? Oh, we got to turn this up. Here it is. There it is. That's the shout out, Patreon shout out. Yeah, dude, I want to do some green screen stuff, like kind of like the way that gamers do. Imagine like when we go to like clips of things and stuff, and then it's just like I'm talking and then the shit is behind me. I think it would be really great. What's up, Josh? Who's Josh? Bwahaha. Do I know you, Josh? Ballad. What kind of mic do you use? It's actually pretty good quality. This is a Deity S2 shotgun mic. I am not upgrading the mic because the mic is actually good. It's a good shotgun mic. It's what I use for production sound when I do film and video work. And I have a Premix 3. So the audio side of things, I'm actually very pleased with it. What I want to upgrade is I'm using this tiny little webcam. I want to fix that up if I can. And just a couple other things, lighting things. I just want to make things better. So I don't know, just trying to up the game a little bit if it were. If I can. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works. I think I'm going to have to finally bite the bullet after a year of doing this. I'm going to upgrade my account to a premium account so that I can stream to both YouTube and Facebook at the same time, in addition to LinkedIn and Twitter and all a bunch of places. We'll see. We'll see. Paul says, I'm trying to get my little brother Josh to post his pic of him and Erie. He lives by him and ran into him 4 times. He's in the group. Is this Josh below, Paul? Tell us of when the Misfits played with the Beastie Boys. What was that lineup? Well, it was the Misfits and the Beastie Boys, and there was a third. And I think Todd Swalla drummed for that show, if I'm not mistaken. I never hear any issues with audio. Visually, a green screen would be perfect. Setting in the background aesthetically. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if it will, the other problem is bandwidth. I'm doing this off of Wi-Fi. The show's done off of Wi-Fi. And that's the other thing. I want to get a hard line into my computer so that way we never have bandwidth issues ever again. Neither here nor there. I want to move on because I want to stay focused on the show. So I am going to share my screen, and I want to talk about this thing. Again, John Voice of Doom just crushed it with this recommendation. He posted in this group. They're called Orange Hell. Here, I'm going to share my screen real quick. We want a Chrome tab, share audio, and it's going to be Music Funeral Party. I'm so afraid that I hope that we don't get busted. I really want to play some music. I hope we don't get busted. I'm going to just play it. So look, they've got a couple here. Check this out. This is so cool. Now, I'm a big fan of any cover that really goes outside. So first of all, check out this Bandcamp, no matter what. It's called the Funeral Party Bandcamp, right? Just really stellar. Really, really, really stellar. Oh, thank you, Jarvis. You think that looks cool? Here you go. So check this out. This is the funeralpartybandcamp.com. Please check this out. I just think they are so awesome what they're doing. And then there's this mysterious band. They're mysterious, probably members of other bands on the Funeral Party, and they do this project called Orange Hell. Look at the album work. Can you see it? Why isn't it showing up? That's weird. Huh. That is bizarre. Oh, I see. Okay, I'm gonna have to just click on that. That's the problem. That's the issue. Now you can see it. Look at this. Look at how pretty that is. I love that, man. It's just so evocative of the Misfits and their aesthetic and style. Check this one out. This is 3 more hits from ... Look at that. You can tell that's some old Halloween image that they like sort of really amped up. They jumped up the contrast. Just gorgeous. Now, these came out, and it kills me because this is something I would throw down money for in a second. These, this one, maybe it was this one. This came out on, look at that. Limited edition 7-inch lathe cut. Look at that, man. And they only did 30 of them or something. So now, what do they sound like? What do they sound like? Well, is anybody a fan of the Ravenettes? They are one of my all-time favorite bands. I talked about how I love the Misfits. I love me some Beatles. I love the Stooges. I love Iggy Pop. I love the Pixies. I never talk about my Pixies fandom on here, but I could do a podcast about the Pixies, just the way that I do a podcast about the Stooges or the Misfits and whatnot. That's how big of a fan I am of the Pixies. Embarrassingly, I love Sublime. Yo, Sublime is a really great band, and I'm thinking about doing a long-form video about them in defense of Sublime. And, there's a few things that have not aged very well and are super cringe and just sort of like, ugh, but like, man, I love Sublime so much. Another one of the bands that I worship are the Ravenettes, and I've seen the Ravenettes 7 or 8, 9 times now. I love them, man. Those are albums I can listen to top to bottom, especially Lust, 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 Pretty in Black, friggin' Chain Gang of Love is phenomenal. Raven in the Grave. Now the musical style is Peter. I saw Big Black open for the Stooges actually. Whoa, Javis wants me to do a Pixie show. Don't you dare push me. Yeah, Ballad, I agree. Ballad thinks the cover art is cool. don't you dare push me, because I will do a Pixies episode. I will just do a whole salute to the Pixies. But point is I love me some Ravenettes. Who are the Ravenettes? The Ravenettes, it's a guy and a girl, Soon Wagner and Sharon Fu, and they're Danish, I think. They're Danish or Swedish, right? He was in a band called something Janet, Damn It Janet, or Panic Up Janet, and they got together and they started to, I did Zambot's Like You Never Told Us, the Joey Santiago story. I sure did, and I clipped it, so it'll be coming up. You know what? Zambot, just for you, that's going to be the next video that I drop. You'll hear my embarrassing story. Yeah, so the Ravenettes, guy and a girl singing in unison, and it's this super drone. It's like this drone music. I can't describe it. It's the Pixies meets the Velvet Underground via shoegaze. That's a terrible description, actually, but I freaking love the Ravenettes. And this Orange Hell is the Ravenettes if they were covering the Misfits. And I literally, my jaw hit the ground. And so again, my second shout out is to John Voice of Doom for totally turning me on to this supremely awesome band, Orange Hell, who I really need to seek out and see if I can get them on the show, because they just rock. So let's listen to a little Orange Hell. And again, if you're listening on the podcast, you're not going to be able to hear this, unfortunately. But I suggest that you seek it out. I'll make sure to cut this part out. Let's listen to Angel Fuck first. Ready? Hopefully you guys can hear this. You should be able to hear it. Oh, it's so beautiful, man. Can you guys hear that? All right, so that's Angel Fuck. This is Die Die My Darling. Ready? So that is Die Die My Darling. And then the one other one I want to see. Oh, okay. So they do London Dungeon. Let's listen to London Dungeon for a minute. I just love it, man. It's so slow. I love these arrangements, man. What a great idea. I want to hear these guys live, man.
They call us walking corpses, unholy living dead.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about at the Congress Theater word? I think you're right. It wasn't Big Black. It was Shellac. Let's see how Bullet sounds. What? This is a cover of Bullet. Oh my God. This is insane. How is this Bullet? Yo. This is so unbelievably good. Very cool. All right, let's just listen to In the Doorway, and then we will get going.
In the doorway, shining so bright. In the doorway, I clench your lips. All the flesh, you tore my cross. In the doorway, I have long light. Like the doorway, as you hide. Here and then, will you let me in? Let me in.
Very cool, man. Yeah, so I like these guys a lot, a real whole lot. I just think they are super stellar. I just want to see if I think there's one more. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, you know what? Let's not waste any more time on this, but check them out. That's Orange Hell. Oh, that's Orange Hell. Another thing of note, Eric Corpse did something really cool. He made this thing called Initium AD, which we're going to kind of deep dive on along with Initium when I do that listen along, music reaction, listen along thing. We perform London Dungeon. We perform at Salem Dungeon. Also, Which City, USA. I love that. Chris, can you post? I don't know if you're in the Facebook group. Please post those in the Facebook group. Really like that a lot. Okay. What else before we start the activity? Is there anything else I want to cover? We did the Patreon thing, partially. We did the intro. We did that and that. Okay. So before we launch into our main event here for today's episode, which I'm really excited for because I haven't read it in so long. It's been a very, very long time since I read it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Patreon. Oh my God, he's brought up the Patreon one more time. Yeah, motherfucker, I did. I'm going to bring it up one more time. So I've started a Patreon. Instead of like taking 10 minutes to stutter about it, I've made a video. The video says everything that I would want to say succinctly in 3 minutes. So if you have to go take a pee break, go take a pee break now while I play my little video. And that's all I'm going to say about the Patreon during the episode. So check out, this is the Patreon. I'm making videos. I'm making some videos that are more elevated than, say, these videos. These are talking videos. I'm doing scripted videos that only come out through a release window. So for instance, there's a second Samhain listening party video that's already up on the channel, and it won't drop covered with ads for the next 20-something days. If you're in the Patreon, you can and you're at a certain tier, there's 2 tiers, the YouTube casual tier, whatever, you can already hear the listening party. So it's already been listened to. The party has been enjoyed. So I'm going to play this now, and then I'm going to shut up about the Patreon because I want to keep it concise, right? Let's keep it concise. So here we go. Here's my little spiel about the Patreon. It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates, that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon, because we need you!
66 cents.
Okay, that's it. That's all I'm going to say about it. Done. Not going to say anything more. Boom, patreon.com/Frumess. Check it out. All right. What is Stuck in Lodi? Stuck in Lodi is a Creedence Clearwater CCR song. I can't say that. Say that 10 times fast. Creedence Clearwater Revival song. There's a song. It's called Stuck in Lodi. I guess it's about Lodi, New Jersey. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with the song. However, I am familiar with the article by Jon Derosa. Back in 2005, a musician who grew up in Lodi, New Jersey, wrote an article for Pitchfork.com. People know Pitchfork. Pitchfork is like, like hipster central magazine now, but, just been, like the Brooklyn Vegan, before the Brooklyn Vegan was the Brooklyn Vegan, it was, it was all about Pitchfork. And, they've kind of like become, they're kind of considered pretentious, maybe it might be the, a little pretentious, I don't know. But they published this really, really cool article from I don't know if he's not a Lodi native, but he lived and spent a lot of time in Lodi. And it is a phenomenal read if you have never read the article. It's super great. And on top of which, it's funny, as I started like just sort of grazing over it, trying to remember certain little things about it, I became super enamored with the idea of potentially recording a voiceover using the article and turning it into a long form video. In what way? I don't know. But so for what I'm about to do is something I've never done on the show before, kind of. It's an extension of what we did last summer, for those of you who were here last summer, where I was reading The Ugly Things, Jerry Only article, and I kept kind of screwing up, and I would take it back and read it again because I knew that I was going to be using it for something else. So this time, what we're doing, what today's show is, it's not just Stuck in Lodi, it's Stuck in Lodi Part 1, where I am going to basically record a live voiceover. So I'm not going to be breaking away from the text. My focus will be on reading the text, and we'll talk about it afterwards when I'm done. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to read through the article. When I'm done reading through the article, we will do a discussion. But as you know, what we only do here on the show before Jeff can start doing the thing, he's got to talk about before the thing before the thing. And what's the thing before the thing? I got to talk about my history or my experience or whatever, the backstory of my relationship with this article and its author, which is very brief. I had correspondence at the very beginning. So for some of you may know, and some of you do not know, I have been actively in the process, on and off, over the last 11 years, been trying to make a documentary about the Misfits. It started, the traces of this started in 2009. If you go back to our origin episode, you can hear me talk about some of that journey in painstaking detail. But it really started in 2009, late 2009, and I started, my first interview was with Mr. Jim in March 10th, 2010. And I kept the project completely off the internet for 6 years for obvious reasons. But I had crossed paths with all sorts of people. And Jon, who wrote this article, Stuck in Lodi, was one of them. And he was an early one. And it's amazing as I reread through our email correspondence, which I am not going to post here, and I'm not going to explicitly post, but I will just share a few things because I want to respect some of Jon's privacy. Jon's in a band. He was in a band. I forget their name. It's a really hard name to pronounce. They did a cover of Am I Demon, a really slowed down version. It's pretty cool. But it's interesting to read back through these emails that are 11 years old. I don't delete emails ever. I have saved every email from my Gmail account since 2009, which is when I established my current main Lifeline account. So my entire life is in that Gmail, like all the, all my correspondences with various people from so many people that, and what's interesting is for every person that I spoke to, there was a person who was equally mind-boggling and cool that I never got to meet in real life, but I got to kind of correspond a little bit with through Gmail. All of that is saved. I saved all of it, including my correspondence with Diane DiPiazza. That's right, folks. I briefly had a correspondence with Diane DiPiazza and Jimmy Battle. Yes. And both of those correspondences will be revealed in the documentary They Came from Lodi if it ever comes out in the future. It will. It will in some way, shape, or form. But these comments are important. Chris Spahn says Pitchfork is super pretentious. It is. It is. And Ballad says they are read the Pitchfork review for Walk Among Us. I'll check that out. And Cardigans Are Cool says Pitchfork went from insufferable, overly critical, bearded hipster mode to insufferable, overpraising shitty pop music mode. I think that's a pretty good appraisal of the situation. So in any case, I don't remember how I got in touch with Jon, who wrote this article that we're going to read. But he had written this pretty extensive article, and we're going to learn about the background of that article right now via my selective correspondence, okay? So I wrote Jon at some point, and he responded to me April 19th, 2010 at 3:20 p.m. He responded. His band was called Aarktica, but it was with two A's. It was like, this is how you spell his name, his band's name. Aarktica. Did I spell it wrong already? Let's see. I think I just spelled it wrong. Wow. I really suck. I suck today. It's Aarkti. I don't know why this is so important to me. That's his band. That's what they're called. So that's the name of the band. They do a cover of Am I Demon. It's pretty cool. In any case, this was some of John's correspondence with me back. Hey, Jeff, would love to hear more about this. Was 11 years ago. Wow. Oh, my God. This was 11 years ago last month. Hey, Jeff, would love to hear more about your film, and of course would be glad to offer any insight I can. The book I had been working on was very close to coming to fruition. My goal from the start was to do an authorized biography with Glenn's help and myself as a co-writer. I had Glenn and his people interested in participating, and a book publisher, who I'm not going to name here, was also on board to publish. However, the situation did not work out with Glenn. It ended up kind of falling apart. Glenn wanted more of a coffee table book in the realm of another style of book that was kind of like Hank Williams' biography that was put out by this publisher. However, the publisher didn't feel as though it would be financially viable to produce something like that. And what a bunch of idiots, because look at how wrong they turned out to be. Now this all of this stuff that he's talking about happened 5 years prior, in about 2005, I want to say. There have been a lot of projects, biography projects surrounding Danzig over the years. There was a documentary called Legacy of Brutality that never came out. There was a bunch of stuff. This was one of them. He said, in any event, once I lost that momentum, it never really manifested. However, I'm glad to see you're working on something. Let me know how I can help. I responded by asking him questions about how the article related to the book that he was planning to write, or if the book was completely separate, and how long ago was this, and it was a real shame that it never manifested. And he responded. He was very nice guy who was very generous with his time, and very just, I don't know. I think maybe, it was the same thing with other people who I've been involved with this thing where they did not break through, but they wanted to see somebody else succeed. And I think Jon really wanted to see, or was, very generous this time because he wanted to kind of see how far it could go. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm embellishing that a little bit. I don't want to speak for Jon. It's not my place. Here's what Jon responded to me last night. The way that the article was related to his book, his Glenn Danzig biography, is as follows. The article ended up being the pitch, he puts that in quotes, for the book, meaning, and this was a response, he responded 4 days later, this was April 20th, 2010. He said, the article ended up being a pitch for the book, meaning it gave me something to show the publishers and Glenn's people so they knew I was serious and not one of the many people over the years who expressed interest to do a bio with no groundwork laid. So he was establishing his credibility with this brilliantly written article. And it is brilliant. And we're going to read it. I'm so excited to read this. Again, haven't read this in a very long time. He said, the article was tight enough that it generated a lot of interest at the time in the Misfits Danzig community. Remember, he's talking about in 2005, where people kind of came out of the woodwork to tell me stories about the band. Like I said, despite everything, I just couldn't get full support. And then he goes on to explain why it didn't particularly work out with Glenn. And it just didn't work out. That's all I will say about it, because it's not my business, and I don't want to, perhaps, it's fun to share some stuff, but I don't want to overshare stuff that's none of my business. But suffice to say, it didn't work out with Glenn. They could not figure things out. The one thing that I will say is that Glenn wanted there to be no other interviews except for him. He wanted to be the de facto interviewee, and that's it. Like, nobody else can be interviewed. And that would have created some, I mean, what do you think that would create? I don't have to tell you what that would create. And it was, and let's just put it this way. Another sentence written in this email is, an interesting book requires many sources and views. This all happened around 2005. It was the year after the article ran, if you could tell from the Pitchfork. And so it actually was 2006. So it didn't work out. It didn't work out with Glenn. And what's kind of funny is that what he tried to do with the book is literally in the next decade, casually over the decade, because I took a long break for about 6 years. Even longer than that, really. I don't know how to qualify my sabbatical from this project. But I literally would go on to do what he said needed to be done. But I didn't take what he was telling me as advice at that time. I just wanted to do it that way. I was just hitting the people that were most accessible to me. You know what I mean? And so there were so many people that were willing to be, that were so generous with their time and willing to talk. And it was, you know, I was very optimistic. This was at the very beginning. I'd only done 2 or 3 interviews, but that's not what I said here. This is what I said to him. I said, wow, I would say that is quite the predicament. And I'm referring to what he had told me that I did not reveal here because, again, I want to respect his privacy. He says, I think in the end, I said, I think in the end you made the right decision. How many interviews did you manage to conduct? If you think you might know of anyone else who might be interested in this, please let me know. I wrote, I do not want to rewrite history. I just want to talk to as many people who were there and get as many interviews as possible. And I only want to talk about 1977 to 1983, nothing after, none of the 1995 stuff. And then I'm asking him, like, are you familiar with the whole band's history? Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. He responds that he honestly didn't proceed with any official interviews aside from several that he had done for the article. One of those interviews that he did for the article was Steve Zing. He says, again, I'm being selective with what is written in this email. He says, he talks about how his perspective comes from having lived, and this is very important for the article, his perspective comes from having lived in Lodi and having family there, understanding the kind of place that it is and being entirely Italian. How unique Glenn was to do something so out of the norm there. And, you know, he says that that Danzig in general, I don't think he's talking about Glenn, I think he's talking about Danzig as, you know, the Misfits, Samhain and Danzig, and Glenn Danzig has kind of just been a part of his life in a variety of different ways. He asks me, how far along are you in planning of this? Is this just an idea right now? Do you have any funding and contacts and equipment? Do you plan to get Glenn involved? If so, do you have his management contacts, etc.? And I responded, this is how I responded. I said, this is where I'm at. I said, this has been a year in the making. I don't know if that's true. I'll be honest, I don't remember. It might have been less than a year in the making. I said, this has been a year in the making. Maybe I did. Maybe I had. Again, I'm trying to remember a year. I'm trying to remember 12 years ago, but from the mindset of 11 years ago. It's kind of funny because I ask people all the time, like, I ask people to remember shit from like 40 years ago. I'm like, remember it. Remember it. I said, why don't you remember it? You know, like, I'm such an asshole. But it's like, I can't even remember stuff from 10, 11 years ago. So it's like, it's just funny. I generally try to be more sensitive and ginger towards people's memories because, you know, people just don't do or don't remember stuff. Raphael asks, Jeff, have you ever heard about Morning Noise? They are from legendary Lodi, New Jersey, band members with eventually linked to Sam. Yeah, of course I know Morning Noise. Several members of Morning Noise are in my documentary. Tommy from Morning Noise is in my documentary, and Steve Zing is in my documentary. So yeah, I know some more noise peeps. In any case, this is what I said. I said, this is where I'm at. This has been a year in the making. I said, I already have interviews in the can. That was true, and it included one misfit, which was Mr. Jim, who was my first interview. I told him, I have equipment I need to conduct the interviews, although I could always use better, which is true. You could always use better. I said, everything is in HD, though, so it looks great. I have more than 47 contacts. I don't know why. I probably pulled that number out of my ass. I don't know. I said, I don't have funding, which is true. All expenses are coming from my own pocket, also true. I said that I want to apply for funding. And then I talk about how a promoter that I knew at CBGB's, I guess maybe that would have been Kip at the time. That's the only guy I could think of. He was a promoter at CBGB's who wants me to help put on a rock show fundraiser. I don't remember that. This is true. I contact, coordinate, interview, shoot, and schedule everything. I have one assistant that I use to monitor sound, which is a terrible idea. I eventually didn't need an assistant. I just put the cans on, the headphones, and I would monitor the sound myself. Yeah, I would do everything myself. I just need one guy, right? And I wrote, and another DP who I will use for some of the bigger interviews I have lined up later this month. I used to have two other guys come with me, or one other guy come with me, because I wanted to look more important than I was. You know, when I would respond to emails, I would always respond to emails with we instead of I. Whenever you respond to an email and you say we, you sound like way better than, you sound bigger. You sound more official when you say we. Like, who is this we? The royal we. And then I said, when the time is right, I hope to bring on a second producer. I also write, I plan to get Glenn involved. I said, he will be the last I contact. That's true. I really was thought at that time, this was before the before time. I know that that's an impossibility now, but at the time, I know it's an impossibility now for all the reasons that are in this email that I had entirely forgotten, that I did not read to you because it's not my business, but that I had entirely forgotten. That's why Glenn will never be in my documentary. But at the time I thought, I'm going to interview every single person, and Glenn is going to be the last guy I ask, and show him all the interviews I got. And that once he sees that I have all these interviews, he's going to be interested. And of course, I was oblivious to whatever, not for me to say. I said I had access to his contact info, which might have been true, might have not been true. In April 2010, I don't think that was true. Later on, kind of had one removed away from Danzig in a matter of speaking, I guess a little bit, but not like, I don't know. And then he starts telling me about how I can get in touch with Glenn, and telling me about some of the ins and outs of dealing with Glenn. And he says, you can still put together an interesting story without him. Advice that I would not really take to heart for years. I waited years before I really reconsidered it. And when I reconsidered it, I wasn't thinking about him. I came to the realization on my own. But he says, but beware of people who, one, want to perpetuate urban legends, which is exactly the opposite of what I want. Of course I want the urban legends. You know what the first thing I'm going to have at the beginning of my documentary? It's going to say, this film is based on a true story. So that way, whatever is in my documentary, no matter how accurate or inaccurate the information, it's just going to be like, this documentary is based on a true story. That's what I'm going to do. Totally inspired by Return of the Living Dead, by the way. He said, 2, beware of people who exaggerate or elaborate the truth. And he says that we Italians tend to do that. And 3, beware of people who want to be documented as connected to the band, but in actuality didn't play a major or minor role in anything. And he says that's kind of why I went the route I did with the Pitchfork article. The people I spoke to couldn't give a shit about Fame or Danzig or anything. They're just doing their own thing, not star fucking anything, you know? And that's really the gist of my correspondence with him. And again, super nice guy. Stoker, you must have missed it. I have contacted Diane DiPiazza, and she did respond to me. She wrote me a nice email response, and that response would be revealed in my documentary as it was written to me. I've also been in contact, as I said, with Jimmy Battle from Misfits Central, that guy. Yeah, I like the zombies guy. He sounds really great. Glenn won't be in your documentary. Glenn, no, you know what? It's better if Glenn's not in the documentary. You know, it's better if Jerry's not in the documentary. I would like to get Doyle in the documentary, but I don't think that's possible right now. Man, that's really nice of you to say, Raphael. I don't know. Once upon a time in Lodi. A Lodi time ago. Oh, you guys with the puns. You guys are punny. So that is the backstory behind the article. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to read through the whole article uninterrupted, okay? I'm not going to look at anything but Stuck in Lodi. Once that's done, and again, I'm not just reading it for you guys. You guys are watching me record it live as a voiceover for what I'm hoping is going to be a really, really stellar Patreon video. Okay? So we'll see. Why Doyle but not Jerry or Glenn? Because that's such a long question that I'm not going to answer right now. I'm so sorry, AM. But I appreciate the question. It's a long story. But if I did have the ability to get Doyle, I would totally love to get Doyle. But I think Glenn and Jerry, let's say I had my druthers, and let's say that I could get to a place where I can get all these people. I think at this point, like after coming to this realization, I think I would leave Glenn and Jerry out. And I would do so. I mean, I already kind of did it. I did it with the 1979 thing, right? I already told some of the story with Glenn and Jerry. Now I'm going to tell the same story without them. And it's going to be a completely different kind of story. It's going to be harder to tell. It's not so easy when you don't have the two guys giving you the two polished answers. Because that's what they are. They're manicured, polished answers that are repeated over and over again. And not the interesting different shades and points of views of people who were there but remember things differently, slightly. Steve Zing is an awesome guy, and I have not had much. I've had some interaction with Erie, but never in real life, so I can't speak to him, but I've heard good things. Jeff, are you familiar with Don Argott's ditched plans for a Danzig doc? Yes. Yes. Was that the name of the guy? Yeah, Jeff, I was just talking about Legacy of Brutality. There was not another documentary besides A Legacy of Brutality 2. And I spoke with that filmmaker over the phone. Okay? That's the name of the guy. His name was Don Argott. And there was some article about it too. I remember being so stoked way before I ever thought about doing my own documentary. I was stoked to hear that there was a documentary called Legacy of Brutality, and it never came out. Filmed in 3D, that's right. Personally, I've always thought Glenn feels the need to fully trust someone, and usually someone who's been around. Yeah. I mean, isn't that his relationship with Steve a little bit, you know? Just came, so I may have missed something. Yeah, it is more, AM, that's a good way to put it. It's more from the perspective of the other members. Why? Because I could talk to the other members, and the other members wanted to talk to me and told me stuff. And I'm thinking about doing something really controversial with it in order to need some connective tissue. Don Argott made Rock School and a doc on the singer from Pentagram. I think I might have talked with Don over the phone about the Danzig Legacy of Brutality documentary. I have to check. I could be wrong. I think that might have been the guy I spoke to. Unless there's a completely separate documentary. And was Doyle filmed for the Legacy of Brutality documentary too? I believe so. Is this a live stream from us or a pre-recorded thing? Ha! This is pre-recorded. Ha! I pre-recorded this. No, you're live. You caught me live, baby. And we're exactly an hour in So I love this. This is live, sack. Okay, listen, we're exactly an hour in. I'm going to read this, guys, okay? And I'm not going to look at the comments. Please don't get mad. And then we'll talk about it afterwards. And if you have any questions about what I'm reading that you want to like talk about, sorry, Jacob. I knew your name was Jacob. I remember that. You said your name was Jacob last time. Yes, it is Evilive. If you guys have any questions or like want to bookmark something, if you guys want to bookmark anything, just like put it in the chat and then we'll come back to it, okay? So I'm going to ignore you now. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Please, if you're just joining us for the first time, please like, share, most importantly, subscribe to the show, join the Patreon. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but that was me plugging, motherfuckers! All right, it's time. An hour in. An hour in means it's kratom? Kratom? I don't even know what that is. Okay, Stuck in Lodi. So as you can see, this is from Pitchfork, and it is friggin' like, it's from 2005, so it's kind of like an archived article at this point. All right, I'm not looking at you guys. I'm not looking at you guys. I'm ignoring the comments now. Do not be upset with me. Just comment on anything you want later. Let us begin. Long before I knew what nostalgia meant, I knew that not a whole lot had changed over the decades since my parents grew up in Lodi, New Jersey. Even now, there remain 1950s coffee counters like Cardi's Sugar Bowl, and you can get a good piece of fresh mozzarella from Mike Vincentelli's Deli. Even now, there remain 1950s coffee counters like Cardi's Sugar Bowl, and you can get a good piece of fresh mozzarella from Mike Vincentini's Deli. A statue of Christopher Columbus overlooks Main Street, anchoring Lodi's proud Italian roots. Life there is still a lot like life in the old neighborhoods my grandparents grew up in. Not only do you know everyone, you're most likely related too. If you're born in Lodi, you tend to live there all your life. You live at home until you're married and then move into the house down the block. It's not a bad place to grow up. It's safe and clean, and you have your entire neighborhood keeping an eye on you. On the other hand, you have your entire neighborhood keeping an eye on you. Action-wise, it's no New York City, the metropolis that taunts Lodi from across the Hudson River. Glenn Danzig grew up in Lodi, raised on Elvis and his dad's 1950s pop collection. As he got older, he turned to Black Sabbath, but by 1976, the Ramones had crashed onto the New York scene. Glenn took aspects of their sound, shed the cool vibe, and set the music firmly in the milieu of suburban alienation, speaking in a language every pissed-off kid in middle America might understand. His obsessions with horror and sci-fi genre films permeated his lyrics, and just as importantly, his image, placing his music in an entirely unique context. New York punk was just punk, simple and static. When Glenn started the Misfits, he mutated the punk sound and image into something darker and more sinister. A punk metal hybrid that later found bloom in the quiet, boring suburbs of Oslo and the boggy backwaters surrounding Tampa. Punk belonged to the media celebrity hubs of London and New York. Ghoul rock was for the kids in the suburbs where nothing ever happens. You think you're a zombie, you think it's a scene. I was 12 and cleaning out my grandmother's Lodi garage when I found an original pressing of the Misfits' Walk Among Us. Whose copy was it? I may never know, but it was though fate had placed its alien nightmare art and the title's grim invitation into my eager hands. Just a week earlier, I had bought Danzig's second album, Lucifuge. Inspired by an ad in Circus Magazine featuring a shadowy and muscular Glenn Danzig wearing an upside-down cross around his neck. Just a week earlier, I had bought Danzig's second album, Lucifuge, inspired by an ad in Circus Magazine featuring a shadowy and muscular Glenn Danzig wearing an upside-down cross around his neck. It was the most visually intense thing I had ever seen. The ad might have come across as laughable gay camp, but it didn't. It was pure black menace. It worked. Steve Zing is one of punk's great drummers and would later join Glenn in Samhain. My bedroom was all black. I'd have black paper on the windows so light couldn't get in, recalls Steve, drumming on the dashboard with one hand and steering with the other through a narrow... My bedroom was all black. I'd have black paper on the window so light couldn't get in, recalls Steve, drumming on the dashboard with one hand, steering with the other through narrow streets in the old neighborhood. We're seeing all the sights today. Let's drive by Glenn's house, maybe his mom's home, says Steve. Steve was a few years younger than Glenn, but got into the same music around the same time. He went to school with Doyle, Jerry Only's younger brother, who would eventually join Jerry and Glenn in the Misfits. Everyone lived within 4 blocks of each other. In the years before Doyle joined the band, he and Steve knew that a seat atop... this is so hard. I suck. Sorry. In the years before Doyle joined the band, he and Steve knew that a seat atop an adjoining roof was the best place to listen. Oh my God. In the years before Doyle joined the band, he and Steve knew that a seat atop an adjoining roof was the best place to listen in on Misfits rehearsals. Jerry got a bass for Christmas a month or 2 before joining Glenn and was learning as he went. They couldn't play for shit, but musicianship was never the point. It was about seizing control. It was about creating something evil. It was about making people afraid. Mike Morantz, formerly of Lodi band Active Ingredients, remembers, "Yeah, that was a strange time because it wasn't the only change in music happening. It was a change in state of mind. To me, as far as the town itself, it was like I was here physically, not mentally. Wrapped up in the transition of the music. And also kind of sticking with the same friends. We weren't too much... And also kind of sticking together with the same friends. We weren't too much of an acquaintance people. At the time, pop radio was Boston, Fleetwood Mac, Air Supply, Meatloaf. The Misfits were the willful antithesis of everything on the airwaves. They inhabited a violent world. Walk among scenes of zombie apocalypse, murdered classmates who teased and made fun. The Misfits were ahead of their time, and they had to open doors themselves as well as build some. Their first records were only available in New York City at Bleecker Bob's and Sounds, and in Hackensack, New Jersey at the Record King, an oldies record store where Steve Zing bought his first Misfits album. I remember Doyle coming into high school with cases of Night of Living Dead records and just giving them away for free, Zing remembers. Everyone hung out in New York City on St. Mark's or 7th and A, but they lived in Lodi. And in Lodi, it was the pizza joint down the street, Sunday morning horror movies on TV, and hanging out in your friend's basement. Glenn was a ringleader of sorts for the local disenchanted teens. He was the first punk presence in Lodi, and everyone wanted to be around him. Steve Zing. Glenn was very charismatic, and the Misfits were very different than what was going on at the time. As a band, they had a style and sound that nobody else had. Glenn's understanding of fear and intimidation put him at the forefront of the movement. Though he was of slight stature, his band was giant muscled Though he was of slight stature, his band was a giant muscled black squadron. Both Jerry and Doyle were varsity football players. Their black devilocks and gruesome ghoul paint didn't exactly scare the townsfolk shitless. They knew Glenn and company as good kids from the neighborhood. They knew their parents. When they saw Jerry carving up his guitars on the front lawn with a power saw to make them look more gothic, the reaction was more amusement than terror. When they saw Jerry carving up his guitars on the front lawn with a power saw to make them look more gothic, the reaction was more amusement than terror. They didn't even mind that they could hear the Misfits rehearsing from blocks away. Glenn was doing things that were pretty much unheard of at that time. He ran Blank Records out of his home in Lodi in 1977, releasing the first Misfits 45, Cough Cool. Mercury Records created a sub-label called Blank Records the following year, but Glenn had been smart enough to trademark the name. In the end, he let Mercury have the name in return for 30 hours of studio time, which Glenn used to record the Misfits Static Age album. Glenn and legendarily bad B horror auteur Ed Wood. Glenn and legendarily bad B-horror auteur Ed Wood gave the label a new name, Plan 9. Aside from a few random shows at Al's Bar in Hitsville, the Misfits rarely performed around Lodi. This was before Basement and American Legion shows, and most venues hadn't yet figured out what to do with bands like the Misfits, who opened shows by busting out of onstage coffins. It wouldn't be until around 1982 that the hardcore scene really hit the Northeast and more local opportunities started to open up. But touring and a slew of 45s had earned them the hardcore community's respect, even fear. Steve Zing. Not a lot of people talk shit about them. Whew, hold on, I gotta take a drink break. In underground Lodi, the Misfits' influence was rampant. Prior to joining Samhain in 1984 and later Danzig in 1988, Steve Zing classmate Eerie Vaughn had a death rock band called Rosemary's Babies. Eerie was also known for documenting the Misfits as their photographer. Mike Morantz, an original Misfits guitarist France Coma, had active ingredients. One of the scene's more avant-garde acts. There was Bobby Steele's Undead. There were the Victims, the only other band to have an album on Plan 9. And of course, there was Steve Zing's own Morning Noise. I singled out the kids who are mean to me. As Steve and I drive past his old middle school, I'm reminded of another Plan 9, the Misfits cover band I started in 8th grade. We played 2 gigs. One at a school assembly, where Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight got us into considerable trouble, and one in Washington, D.C. during an 8th grade class trip. Our principal wasn't real bright and allowed us to take our gear on the bus and perform for our class in the hotel banquet hall. The front desk was instantly overwhelmed by complaints. A preppy girl classmate asked me why I sang I Want Your Skull. My reply, because I do. In present-day Lodi, a stop at a local watering hole. Sorry, this is what happens when you literally are watching me read voiceovers. This is how I do voiceover stuff. In present-day Lodi, a stop at a local watering hole affords a chance to In present-day Lodi, a stop at a local watering hole affords a chance meeting with Stephen Doyle's middle school science teacher, Mr. P, who just happened to be there, is only too happy to recall their legendary 8th grade graduation ceremony. I was informed by the vice principal of the middle school that Doyle would not be allowed to participate because of how he was dressed. Doyle and his brothers came dressed in black suits, narrow ties, peg pants, pointy shoes, very strange looking. One had blue hair. Rumor was that he was with Sid Vicious the night Sid killed himself or killed a girl. Doyle followed the procession of students on the stage. His hair was pink, and he wore a lime green suit with a narrow tie and black boots. So he was dressed like a watermelon. The principal ordered the teachers to get him off the stage, but his massive entourage, clad in leather and spikes and looking to make a scene, intimidated them. Now the brothers are getting up out of their chairs and lining the sides of the auditorium. There's maybe 2 or 3 of them. So I figure, fuck this shit, you know? So as they name the students, they skip his name. Doyle sits at the edge of the stage and starts giving the principal of the schools, the superintendent of the I'm just imagining this. Imagine this image right now. Sorry, I'm interrupting my own voiceover because this is so funny. Because I got the full picture now. You have them intimidating them on the stage, and then you have Doyle is dressed like a watermelon. He's got pink hair, and he's got a lime green suit, and he's sitting on the end of the stage giving the finger. So as they name the students, they skip his name. Doyle sits on the edge of the stage and starts giving the principal of schools, the superintendent of schools, and some other dignitaries up there the finger and tells them to go fuck themselves. It's so great. It's so great. Ugh. At this point, the brothers start running around the joint, inciting the crowd, and mayhem ensues. Doyle was popular with the student body, who began rioting in his favor. As things reached their inevitable boiling point, the vice principal rose up and walked over to hand Doyle his diploma. Doyle tore it up, flipped off the VP, and again them to go fuck themselves before walking off the stage. Wow. Oh man, that is just the best. Broken bodies in a death rock dance hall. I wouldn't say that the Misfits were visionaries, but I would say that Glenn was a visionary, explains Bob Aleka, owner of Real Platinum Studio in... I wouldn't say the Misfits were visionaries, but I would say that Glenn was a visionary. I wouldn't say that the Misfits were visionaries, but I would say that Glenn was a visionary, explains Bob Aleka, owner of Real Platinum Studios in Lodi. There were really no bands at that level that were playing and putting out records on a regular basis. He marketed his music well. Who would have thought back in the early 80s to hook up with a skateboard magazine and put the Misfits logo on a skateboard deck? Plus, he was always on the road with the band, playing every place he could think of. He was selling his records through magazine ads. Bob Aleka still runs the studio, which in 1980 was one of the few 24-track recording facilities in New Jersey. Real Platinum was far more affordable than its Manhattan competitors, so nearly every Lodi punk band, including the Misfits and Samhain, recorded there. Even some of Glenn's later work, like his Wagnerian epic Black Aria, saw time at Real Platinum with Aleka, who was also working with the then unknown Christina Aguilera. Glenn always had something going on and was always moving along. He was always moving up a little notch, and he never let anything get him down. He was always positive. He was a professional. He had a head for business, Aleka recalls. Glenn's professionalism might have also contributed to the Misfits split. They were never able to tour as much as Glenn wanted, and they were never able to tour as much as Glenn wanted, as Jerry and Doyle worked for their dad. They couldn't keep drummers. Their live shows were visually stunning, but sucked musically. They were never in tune. They'd smash their instruments 8 measures into a set. Jerry played basses that he demolished and then glued back together the night before. Their energy and brutality was inspiring, but Glenn knew the songs themselves were being ruined on stage. As the band was beginning to get national attention, they were falling apart. By 1983, Glenn had discovered the more gothic sounds of Bauhaus, Birthday Party, and Alien Sex Fiend, while Jerry was digging Iron Maiden, and his interest in the occult had peaked. The dawn of Samhain made space for new sounds and ideas, as well as a level of musicianship that the Misfits would never attain. Glenn stayed in Lodi through Samhain's lifespan, all the way through 1992 and the release of Danzig's Lucifuge. In fact, most of Misfits Samhain Danzig alumni remain in and around Lodi. The punk venues they played began serving breakfast long ago or simply disappeared altogether. If you're going to scream, scream with me. Moments like this never last. When I was 14, I befriended, this is cool, this is a cool part. When I was about 14, I befriended Glenn Danzig's dad. He had me over to the house and showed me the hearse Glenn bought at 17, now relegated to cinder blocks in the backyard. He even offered it to me. He gave me a stack of Misfits skateboard decks, which had been sitting under his deck in unopened boxes. At 15, Steve and I saw a Danzig show in Red Bank, New Jersey. It was one of their last performances before John Christ and Erie left the band. We hung out with Glenn, and it was probably the best night of my life. Later that same night, Jerry and Doyle showed up at Glenn's hotel asking him to Jerry and Doyle showed up at Glenn's hotel asking him to rejoin the Misfits. They were escorted out by security. I would see the Misfits reunion the following year at the Stone Pony on the eve of my SATs. It was a blast, but without Glenn, it just wasn't the Misfits. So what about Lodi made it a petri dish for ghoulish punk rock? Why do kids still make pilgrimages to Lodi just to pore over the Misfits' old tax records and yearbooks in the public library? Oh, shout out to friggin' Russell Casualty! What was in the water in Lodi in the late 70s that caused kids to take up instruments and frighten people? Some credit Glenn with creating a movement. Some deny that there was ever a movement at all. Some, like Bob Aleka, chalk it up to coincidence. Steve Zing offers a more nostalgic perspective. It was more the fact that at the age we were stuck in Lodi. Glenn lived at home. I lived at home. The Misfits were what I looked up to. Franche Coma considers it simply a natural progression of adolescent routine. We'd hang out. If you had a job, you'd go to work. Then you'd practice. You'd go to clubs. You'd go to concerts. Mike Morantz. I think probably a lot of the nostalgia is in our minds. You can see it a lot of different ways. You can see it as a kid brought up in Lodi that had a twisted view. Of things. It's truly impossible to tell if it was a coincidence or if timing was everything. It's something Steve claims can't be described. It can only be felt and understood by the folks that were there. It's truly impossible to tell if it was a coincidence or if timing was everything. It's something that Steve claims can't be described. It can only be felt and understood by the folks that were there. Not only the fans from Lodi, but those that got to see them perform throughout this country. It's almost a shame that the Misfits never really got bigger than what they were when they were together, says Steve. It wasn't as big a scene. It wasn't as big a scene as people think there was. But for maybe the few thousand that felt it, you had to be there. And to this day, anytime I see a kid with his hair in his face, that's Glenn. He said it himself. Moments like this never last. Only the stories live on. Like former Misfits guitarist Bobby Steele throwing up on John Lennon's shoes during a show at New York's Mud Club, or Glenn getting locked up in a London prison cell after fighting with skinheads during a botched UK tour with the Damned, or the Misfits getting banned from Max's Kansas City after a glass thrown from the stage injured an audience member. Every tale carries the personal trademark of the person telling it, and each ensures the Misfits' transcendence of their own death rock icon status. The Misfits were nothing less than an undead urban legend. I spent Super Bowl Sunday at the Lodi Moose Lounge. My dad was tending bar, and I got to talk to my godfather about what I've been up to in New York. We drank scotch, and I had homemade peppers and eggs for the first time since I was a little kid. Around my third scotch, this guy I vaguely recognize approached me and says, "Your dad tells me you're doing an article about the Misfits. Man, I got a story about them you wouldn't believe." Your dad tells me you're doing an article about the Misfits. Man, I got a story Your dad tells me you're doing a story about an article. Your dad tells me you're doing an article about the Misfits. Man, I got a story about them that you wouldn't believe. Hey, your dad tells me you're doing an article about the Misfits. Man, I got a story about them that you wouldn't believe. Jon Derosa is a musician and writer living in New York City. His main music project, Aarktica, oh, that's what it is, it's Aarktica, released its fourth full-length album, Bleeding Light, on Darla Records in March of 2005. Derosa is currently working on a book proposal documenting a first-person history of Glenn Danzig, the Misfits and Samhain, and he can be contacted at aarktica@aol.com. Who knows if he still can. Oh, what's this? All right, there's another thing here. Bonus round. We're going for a bonus round, motherfuckers. Here's another thing. So this is Unholy Passion by Will Oldham. I don't know what this is from. This is just another story. But let's take a look. Let's give it a read, shall we? Unholy Passion by Will Oldham. I got to listening to the Misfits around the time Samhain started up. Sorry. Ready. 1, 2, 3. Unholy Passion by Will Oldham. I got to listening to the Misfits around the time that Samhain started up. Many of us in Louisville were what is known as rabid fans of both bands, and there wasn't a day went by that we didn't talk about the records about Glenn. Initium is a great record, unique. At one point, I put together a huge collage of images pulled from school encyclopedias, voodoo and gargoyles, lots of blood and nastiness. I sent it to Glenn, along with a cow skull and $10, hoping against hope for something to come back. Well, not too long after, the man brought me a package from Lodi, and in it was a Cough Cool single and a beautiful pale yellow Samhain t-shirt. I think I saw the second show Samhain played at Newport, Kentucky's Jockey Club. It was an amazing night. The first time I stayed up all night. Everyone in the band signed my yellow t-shirt. This was probably during the Unholy Passion trip. When the November Coming Fire trip came around, a Louisville band called Maurice was asked to open. The lead singer of Maurice wrote a memoir series called Little Fiend, which we read. We did all 5 episodes of Little Fiend right here on this channel. Seek them out. Eventually they'll be turned into podcasts. This guy, Will, went along for the trip with Maurice, taking pictures. So Maurice did a string of dates with Samhain. So Samhain, and that's the guy who eventually was in the band that was produced by Glenn Danzig called King Horse. His name is Sean Garrison. So Samhain was Glenn, Erie, Damien, and London May with roadie Tom. We went to Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. I remember Detroit. The show was at Corey Rusk's place. At one point after soundcheck, there was a buzz that Glenn was upstairs with Corey and Tesco V, a jaw-dropping summit. London, I am pretty sure, was a vegetarian, and the others constantly ribbed him in Jersey boy fashion. What is Jersey boy fashion? It's breaking somebody's balls. And I don't know if Tennessee Joe is watching. Joe, if you're watching from Tennessee, see what guys in New Jersey do is they like to rib each other by busting each other's balls. I don't know. Listen, I know you guys in Tennessee are very sensitive to this sort of thing, but it's very popular in New Jersey. I just thought I would let you know, being that your name is Tennessee Joe. You spend a lot of time in Tennessee. If you ever come to Jersey, let me know. I'll show you Bergen County. If you want, I'll take you on a tour of Lodi, Joe. If you ever come to Jersey, I'll show you a bunch of places, and I'll introduce you to the Taylor Ham. A jaw-dropping summit, right? They ribbed him in Jersey boy fashion, and they were probably really. The truth is, they were probably really mean to London for being a vegetarian. I could only imagine what that was really like. When we would stop at Denny's, say to eat, Glenn and Erie would tell London that there was some shrubbery outside. You know, I have read this before. I do remember reading this. Really idiotic stuff, but hilarious. Britt Walford played drums in Maurice, and he and I entertained Samhain with our impersonations of people with cerebral palsy. They got a big kick out of that. High-minded all around. Yikes. In Bloomington, something occurred that we were told was a remarkable event. Glenn drank some of a beer, maybe a whole beer. I remember sitting on a porch at a party after the show. Glenn had someone's acoustic guitar, and he started to play the John Cougar song, Small Town, only he sang it like this. When I was born with no dick, and I am a lesbian, he giggled hysterically. The shows blew my mind every night. Death Comes Ripping, Blood Feast, and Die Die My Darling. Thrown in with songs from 3 Samhain records. Powerful, awesome. Always front and center we were, screaming, sweating, singing along with every song. The band was a united front. I had never seen such great songs played so fiercely just for the audience that was right there. I got to see Samhain tour a couple years ago. The set was brilliantly structured with a lineup and cost changes to reflect the evolution of Samhain. And with tension and joy, it was as great as it was in 1985 because Glenn had changed it and made it as great as our memories would have had it. After the show, London reintroduced me to Glenn. Glenn stared at me blankly, then smiled and thanked me for coming. His voice was hoarse. He had a cold. He didn't remember me at all from 1985. I think about him all the time. Musician Will Oldham currently records as Bonnie Prince Billy. He records as Bonnie Prince Billy and is just, I really just suck. He currently records as Bonnie Prince Billy. What? This doesn't make any sense. Why can't I read? Everybody knows I can't read. In any case, there you have it, folks. So that first thing that I read will be turned into something for the Patreons. So if you're a Patreon, you'll see what that looks like on the other end. Hopefully, if it turns out, maybe it won't. Maybe it will be a mess. But I'm going to do something really cool with Stuck in Lodi. I'm going to turn it into a video, basically, for the channel. And only the Patreons will be able to see it. And eventually, maybe the rest of you guys will be able to see it too. But that's going to be a Patreon exclusive for sure, at least to start, maybe. So make sure you check out the Patreon, join the Patreon, yada, yada, yada. Let's go to some of the comments here. Wow, we're only 94 minutes in. Still got 39 people. This is great. This is great. I still have so much work to do after this broadcast. You have no idea. All right. So way back, way back. So it took me about 34 minutes to read all that stuff. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Felipe was stuck in the bathroom watching this. What's the matter, Felipe? Were you what? You constipated or something? What are you stuck in the bathroom for? Wow. Kratom rules, kind of like a legal opiate you mix with juice and it makes you feel loopy. Huh. Matthew says, I've actually been stuck in Lodi, California, outside an AA meeting. Nice, dude. Friggin' nice. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. You know what I'm saying? He was born in Massachusetts and lived in Revere. I believe his sister lives around my area, and he wanted to live here. Are you talking about Jon Derosa? Is that who you mean? Have you ever noticed all the new Lucifuge bootleg represses canned the OG artwork of Glenn's hairy chest? Now they just use some lame pic of the band, all photoshopped and stuff. Shit. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I know how much you love Glenn's hairy chest. Right? I want a pillow of Glenn's hairy chest. Lay my head down every night. Comb the hairs. Man, I've seen this register before. It's killer. I don't know what you mean. I prefer the chest. Yeah, right. It's the Doors photo shoot for the first album, I believe. For the Doors one, Chris says he prefers the Doors one for the Lucifuge album when it became harder to talk to Glenn as he had many guards working for him. Very, very true. Very, very true. Glenn or Glenda, how about both? Chris says, I lived on the street in Hollywood where Ed Wood passed, where his wife lived as he lost his place just prior. Huh. It's amazing. That is amazing. Chris says, Erie used to hang out at Glenn's place watching late night TV like Star Trek, etc., as I believe he had a very odd work schedule at a chemical factory during his Rosemary's Babies days. Interesting. Did the Misfits truly have respect for those in the punk scene in the 80s? I know Necro's Black Flag, but what about Ramones? I mean, for sure the Ramones. Jerry revered the Ramones, and I'm sure Glenn did too. I don't know. The Dead Kennedys had beef with the Misfits, and I don't know about the Circle Jerks. What's up, man? I'm sorry I'm late to your comment. I hope you're well. Jazel Juarez, I think that's how you pronounce your name. We would hang with the Necros. I mainly only hung with Glenn along with my buddy George. And sometimes when they would play Boston, he would come visit. He loved the Boston scene because we were rowdy. That's awesome. Chris, tell me more about your life. Did you see the original Misfits live? Let's hear about it, man. Hell yeah, because it's Misfits. It's because Misfits recognized Necros as probably the best hardcore bands from that time. Chris says, of course, Chuck Biscuits played in the Circle Jerks for quite a while after he left his short stint in Black Flag and his longtime band members in DOA. That's right. So that is the Circle Jerks connection. And the Misfits did play with the Circle Jerks for one show. They hopped on the show. Adrenaline OD opened up for the Circle Jerks, and the Misfits borrowed their equipment and played on the AOD's equipment, and then Circle Jerks went on. So, Ballard says, what about the Dead Kennedys? I have a feeling they were too political to dig Misfits. So, Jello and the Dead Kennedys, well, I don't know about the Dead Kennedys, but Jello was there the night that Doyle cracked a kid over the head with his guitar, El Kabong style. And he had words with, I think he had words with Glenn over it. So we've covered that incident. Yeah, I agree, man. I think Lodi should have a statue of the Misfits. I just had an epiphany live on the air. Mark my words. We must get statues of the Misfits erected in Lodi, New Jersey. I'm starting a petition as soon as I get off this chat. The Misfits must have bronze statues in Lodi, New Jersey. What do you guys think? Ah, Rue agrees. Rue agrees. Although it is bullshit institution, I think the Misfits belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think so too, man, for sure. And I think the Bad Brains should, and I think the Bad Brains should. I think the New York Dolls and the MC5 before anybody else should. You know, I think Glenn had a beef with Jello because the Dead Kennedys released a single called Halloween. Yeah, you might be right about that. But he also had a beef over Jello had a beef over the what happened in San Francisco. It sounds precisely like something that would piss Danzig off. Hey, Eric, there's Eric. How much did you miss? You missed a bunch. You came at 9:50. Eric, you're only, like 90 minutes late, I think. Jazzle says, Jello never liked the Misfits. I heard him comment in an interview that he didn't much care for them or the Fiend image. Yeah. Is that with Nardwar, the human serviette, or something like that? Chris says, well, California, San Francisco had a huge beef with the Misfits after Joel joined because of the Flipper Flesh Eaters gig. That's the El Kabong incident. Yo, Chris knows his stuff, man. Chris, you need to qualify for us, buddy. Like, clearly you're of the old guard. Like, just give us a qualification of you did a little bit already. Did you see the Misfits or Samhain live? Like, tell us, man. I just probably haven't gotten to your comments down below. I'm going. It's in Sacramento where I live, thus my name being Sac Peace Benefits. I'm really stoked. I hope it actually happens. Talk about the Aftershocks thing. AM asks, if Glenn fought skinheads, was he a Trump supporter for monetary purposes? I don't know. The only thing I've seen of Glenn supporting anybody is that he donated $666 to Bernie, although some people have told me that that's very easy to forge, so maybe not. Yeah. Do you know that Nazis code? What? I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. All right. I don't want, no, I'm not going to talk about all that stuff. Come on. Please, it's about the Misfits. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. We're not talking about that. I don't want to talk about that. Please. We've done so much political stuff with the Michael Graves stuff. We're done. I don't want to talk about it here. We're done. It's done for now. Elkbaum says, Danzig described himself as a political... Oh, all right. Come on, let's stop with it. Pusshead did my buddies, the FU. Oh, you know, the FUs. That's awesome. Their debut, Kill for Christ, and also my buddies. Yeah, SSD Control. So you're a dude, man. You're a dude from back in the day. That's awesome, man. I love, every once in a while we get someone from the time who was there, who actually could like talk about it, like, on the show in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, Robbie. What was the first Misfits song y'all learned to play guitar? I don't know. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. Yeah, I knew Glenn via writing and phone right around Walk Among Us was released, and they first played in Massachusetts, Misfits, December 1982, First Cambridge Congregational Church, and you were there. Holy crap. Yo, Chris, friggin', hit me up via email. Let's talk. Let's have you come on the show in the future. I'm putting my email in the comments. Shoot me a email. Because I'd love to hear your experiences and perspectives. It's freaking awesome, man. Keep the show going forever. Forever. You see that, Chris Corkum? If you're interested in coming on the show and talking about your experiences seeing the Misfits live and speaking with Glenn, would love to have you on the show. Not going to do it tonight. We've already blown our wad tonight for that. We're winding down here. Probably cap it at 2 hours like we always do. But please feel free to get in contact with me. Anybody, if any one of you want to email me, you can do so here. Yeah, he says definitely. That's awesome, Chris. I'd love to have you on the show. We'll have a good time, man. You'll tell me. We'll have a really good conversation. I promise. It's going to be really, really great. So just all you got to do, send an email here. And that goes for anybody that, like, I've had some people reach out to me via email recently. My emails are backed up. I have to get to them. I'm backed up on a lot of messages, actually. So I apologize if I have not gotten back to anybody. But if you do have questions for me or do want to contact me about anything, this is the email to do it at: videobusinessmedia@gmail.com. Eric says, Eric, you emailed me a while ago? Did you really? I must have slipped through or gone to my spam. Can you resend me the email that you emailed me, please? So that way I can see what it is. I'm sorry that happened. Sometimes things slip through the cracks. But please send me the email again, or send me a new email with whatever you were saying. In any case, this is the best way to reach me. And because I already do spend so much time writing the way that I write, I may, depending on what you ask me, I may just read your comment when we do another female episode. I may just answer your message live on the air here. Why not? Another thing, please, if you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. You do so right now. That's the #1 free way to support the channel. Again, I love and appreciate every one of you that monetarily support the creation of this art, like all of you. But even just a simple subscribe is really, really helpful to me. So please like this video. Smash that subscriber button. Give it a thumbs up and leave a comment if you please. Oh, man. Curtis from Tang. That's another guy I'd like to interview. I got to talk to Curtis. Ballad says, Jeff, can you do another contest this time, but maybe not for Devilox, considering some of us have receding hairlines, like do a cover of, it's funny, Ballad. Do you know that was not my first contest? My first contest, well, I asked people to friggin' do that. That's exactly what I asked, dude. I wanted people to cover Samhain songs. Samhain songs in the style of Earth AD, or Earth AD songs in the style of Samhain. And John from Voice of Doom has actually accepted this challenge, and they're cooking something up in the kitchen right now. You know who else I think could do a great job? Robbie Bloodshed. I don't know if you're still here, Robbie. Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, right. Robbie, you told me about that recently, about the Misfits and the Jabbers. No, Misfits and Jabbers and Samhain. It was. Robbie, you would crush that too. Trying to do one of those things, jam up. Oh, 1 second here. Jerry and Doyle should hire Gigi Allen. But yeah, to answer your question, Ballad, that really was the plan, and nobody did it. But I do have more ideas for contests, including another Devilock pageant. The problem is nobody wants to take the time to record songs. I understand. It's like, hey, go shoot a short film just for my amusement on this stupid YouTube show. Like, I get it. Believe me, I get it. Chris says, you can see one shot of the show on the Misfits history here on YouTube called The Legacy of Horror documentary. Wait, you can see one shot of the show on that Misfits history here on a YouTube called A Legacy of Horror documentary. I don't know about that one. I am like so about the statue idea. That's the next project, guys. We're going to get a fucking brass statue of the Misfits erected in Lodi proper. Robbie, let's get on that. Robbie Bloodshed's going to help me. I know he will. I know he'll be about the cause. Just so you know, the email you address show, it just says .com. Oh, I am so sorry. And Chris, too, who I asked to get in contact with me. Video Business Media at gmail.com. Pardon me. There you go. That's how you get in contact with me. For real. And we have a sticker right here. Thank you so much, Ballad of the Broken, thank you for your support, buddy. Much appreciated. Please do another contest like the Devil Lock one you did earlier. Cover songs, Danzig-based artwork, best Misfit story interaction. All right, you know what? Just because you've been such a supporter of the show and because you so passionately want to do this and need a contest to drive you to do it, we're fucking doing it. Fucking doing it. All right. You want to? We'll do a cover song contest. That's what we'll do. Although Danzig-based artwork is pretty. No, oh man, let's do Danzig-based artwork. That's going to be the one. You listen. You picked it. I'm picking out of your ideas. Danzig-based artwork. It is. That'll be more people will do that ballad. Truthfully. And here's a little extra for that. Dude, thank you. Thank you for the support and thank you. I appreciate it. I truly do appreciate it. I truly do. So you heard it here, folks. You heard it here first, folks. We're going to do another contest, Danzig-based artwork. Okay? I listen to my listeners, okay? There you go. Chris, did you see my email, the more recently updated email I just put in there? I hope you did. I really do want to talk to you. We do a lot of Samhain stuff. Wait. As a matter of fact, he has my artwork, which is on the DYS Brotherhood re-release. And DYS opened for Samhain. And on the inside gatefold of the cover is done by Dickie Barrett, pre-Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. Whoa. Huh. We do a killer croonings. I love to do some shit in the studio. I got my audio. I mean, ballad. Listen, if you do a cover of a Misfits or a Samhain Danzig song and you want to play it, send it to me. You can play. I'll play it. I'll play it live on the show. Either way, contest or not, if you do a cover, we'll pimp it for you. Okay. I appreciate your support, man. True. But I really like the idea of a Danzig artwork. That'll be fun. We'll get oh man. All right. Give me a little bit of time to cook that one up. But I like that idea a lot. What's up, Hercules? Hercules. Yeah, thank you for the support. Truly, my band Nocturnals do Misfits and Samhain songs as well. Wow. Yeah, so here is the email this is for Chris. This is for anybody who wants to email me. But Chris, get in touch. It's gmail.com. So sorry. Yes, Dave Smalley was in DYS when they opened for Samhain. I was actually thinking of recently doing We Bite in Static. That would be really cool. I would like to see that. If you go to my channel here under my screen, there's some stories about some stories and some live shows. That's awesome. But Chris, I want you to come on my show and talk about your experiences. Listen, I just want to say, look, I appreciate all of the monetary support. It's freaking great. No matter what, just being here and participating is fucking great too. Like, I'm glad you guys are here. You guys rule. All right, you emailed me. Please wait for 5 to 10 weeks of processing because I suck with correspondence. No, I'll get to it at some point. When I get back to the bottom of the top of the email pile. Dude, I think an art contest would be a lot of fun. I'm just thinking of all of various levels of artistic capability, attempting to execute stuff. It would be a lot of fun. We'll do the same thing. I'll get my guest panel of judges. We'll get some judges up in this piece and we'll do it. It'll be really funny. A Misfit statue in Lodi has to happen. Smack dab by the bird. Yeah, dude. John Voice of Doom. We're going to do this. It's going to happen, you guys. I'll make a video for it. I'll make a whole video about this. We're going to do this. I'm starting a campaign. Let me tell you something. I'm going to start work on this as soon as I finish this deadline project that I actually have to really work on right now. If I do artwork and put it on Facebook, it's under Tony Seacrest. No, you're going to have to email me the artwork. I am not certain. Paul, I love you, buddy. I appreciate all your viewer support. You got to email me. Everybody who wants to be a part of this contest will email it to me. I can't do that. That's too much craziness, too much chaos. If they take down the Columbus statue in Lodi, they need to replace it with Lodi's best Italians. And dude, see, there you go. They could put it over the Columbus statue, and it will be that everybody will still be happy that there are some Italians in Lodi. You know, Mike, I love that you like the Pixies, and we're gonna talk about some Pixies. I promise. Blood Feast in the style of Samhain would be cool. It's one of my favorites on Earth AD. Well, Mark, how about this? Did you know that there is a live bootleg recording of Blood Feast in Samhain? But it really just sounds like the Blood Feast from Earth AD. But it does exist. Javis wants it too. He wants the Pixie show. Okay. Guys, just for you two, I'm going to be next video I'm going to drop is the Pixies, the embarrassing Joey Santiago Pixie story. Actually, DYS opened for the first Misfits show here in I did not know that. The FUs, I went to school. This guy, everything, man. Robbie recently recorded a Samhain track with a former Misfit this week. Ooh, I wonder what that could be and who it's with. Ooh. I'm going to make a video on the statue. It's going to be a call to arms. I'm so fucking serious about this. You know how serious I am about this? I'm taking out my production camera. This is how serious I am about this. I'm busting out the Blackmagic Cinema camera to make this video. I'm not going to use my cell phone. I'm not going to use a webcam. We're going to use the big guns. I know it looks very small, but it's a small camera that does good stuff in a big package. That is what we're going to do. Let me see here. Whew. Thank you for taking consideration. I think these little projects, statue and contest art, will grow your channel. Yeah, I agree, man. And will allow for fan interaction. So many artists will join in with many. Yeah, man. I think the artwork idea is actually, it could raise a lot of good awareness for the channel. Dude, it's a good idea. And you know what? Honestly, we're doing it. That's going to be the other thing. So we're going to do the statue. Wow, this was such a productive episode, you guys. The statue, Danzig art contest. And I'm going to record that shit with my high-end camera. Glenn Danzig looks like he would smell like shitty incense. Misfits history here on YouTube. The picture 2157 is a timestamp for the picture. Okay. Hey. Oh yeah, for Robbie. Yes, for Robbie. That's awesome. So Robbie, this guy Javis wants to check out your art, your work, man. It's awesome. I'm all for it too. I think it would be great. I truly think it would be great to replace that statue with a Misfit statue. So that Italian pride can still shine without some of that history that's connected to Columbus. I think that's a phenomenal trade-off, right? That's it. We're doing it. You heard it here first. You guys witnessed this. A statue in Lodi, New Jersey. I can't take credit for the idea. Somebody else had it in the comments, but like I'm going to take this project on. We are going to make this friggin' happen. Truly, truly, truly. Peter really enjoyed the Samhain Unholy Passion reaction video made. If that's true, Peter, you have to check out. It's not available yet. It's only for Patreons, but it's eventually, in less than 30 days, the Final Descent listening video is going to drop. The Final Descent listening video is an hour long, and it's the extended version of Final Descent, which includes the Unholy Passion tracks as well as the re-release tracks. So it's about an hour, because the first 15 minutes is history about Samhain's Unholy Passion and the context, yada, yada, yada. There was, yes, I remember that. There was a rumor that Danzig recorded Blood Feast during the Danzig 6 recording sessions, and nobody has ever seen it, and it's a real shame. Uh-oh. Look who we have in the comments, you guys. Steve, I'm not even kidding. we're getting a statue of the friggin' Misfits. It's going up in Lodi. I'm taking this project on. You just wait and see. It's going to be the most amazing thing. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to start a petition. We're going to get signatures, and we're going to get a statue of the Misfits in Lodi. It's going to be friggin' awesome. Awesome. I don't know where should it go? Should it go like right next to Hanks Frank's, or perhaps maybe like a roundabout that like splits for Route 46 in half? You know, I don't know. I think it would be good. I think it'd be really good. Question: will it be Glenn, Doyle, and Jerry? And which drummer will it be? Here's what I think. I think it'll be Glenn, Jerry, and Doyle, and then it will be the Crimson Ghost over them, like looming down. You know what I'm saying? That's probably the best way to do it. Yeah. I wish Chuck Biscuits played on all the Final Descent tracks. Hear me talk about that a little bit on the Final Descent thing. Chris says, hi, Steve. We should have a statue of me. Come on, stop trying. What are you trying to like make me feel all tingly for? That's such what a nice thing to say. You know, what truly, I mean, I'm touched. It was me here in Austin. We had a Willie Nelson and Stevie Ray Vaughan statue. So why not? Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, we need to get a Misfit statue in Lodi. It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. Instead of Columbus Day, Jersey can celebrate Ghoul's Night Out, and it's on Halloween Part 2. Steve Zing says just Glenn. Oh, come on, Steve. It's gotta be Glenn flanked by the Twins of Evil. Okay? It's gotta work that way. You know? When are you doing another roundtable movie review video again? Enjoyed that show. I'm so glad you dug it, Paul. Freaking, yeah, I just haven't had the time, man. Haven't had the time. Gotta make it happen. Yes, that is Steve. Steve, the best Samhain drummer. You know, Steve, we were talking, I was talking the other day, we were talking about the drumming on, what was it? I think it was Unholy Passion, and how it just must have been not easy drumming. Statue should be at the high school or Lodi Pizzeria. I agree. Lodi Pizza or the high school. Yes, I am. 150%. And you gotta give me directions and what time. My wife works till 1. It's got to be the afternoon. It's got to be the afternoon. Last time I saw Steve was the Hampton Beach show. Which era, Glenn, are they going to do? Static Age, Glenn, Walk Among Us, Glenn, Dog Mask, Glenn, Leather Shirt, Danzig 5, Glenn. I would say Horror Business, Glenn, with like a Harlock shirt, right? We need someone to design the statue. Who's going to design it? Like, we need to get someone of note. There's so many artists that would throw down for that, you know? Yeah, that's exactly what it would be. Steve should be the new drummer for the Misfits. I said the same thing when they were doing that, when they first started the reunion. Steve could have handled it. He could have done the Earth AD stuff just fine. He would have handled Static Age stuff just fine. Steve Zing, they want to know what's going on with Black 29. The Rue's wife will not stop asking. Nishian. Steve, we read that article from Jon Derosa, who you know personally. Great article. It's a shame that his book never came out. Truly. When is Glenn's new film coming out? It's coming. Ballad says, Steve Zing, you are the fucking man. Thank you for the content. Love your solo projects too. 6-ish. Actually, Steve, 6 would be great. Yes, I think 6 is the way to go. Yes. Text me your address. Glenn is more than Jerry and Doyle. Of course he is, but you need to have gargoyles. You need your gargoyles to surround Glenn. You know what I mean? Like, it can't just be that. Q, how about a complete Misfits guitar tab and bass songbook? That'd be cool. Steve says that the Black 29 album coming out on Cleopatra in August or September. You can also, the Cleopatra also reissued Morning Noise. So you got Morning Noise is coming out, or already came out. I think it actually, the vinyl sold out. It's still available on CD. I agree. More Samhain. More Samhain. Steve, what can you tell Glenn to frickin' repress the Samhain vinyl? We're all goddamn waiting. Tell Glenn that he can fight the bootleggers by putting out the official vinyl. Everybody wants to support the official artist. Mark says that you rule, Steve. We also need an updated Samhain box set. I agree. I agree. Thanks for the update, Steve. You have no idea how lucky you are that you've been able to pick the brains of these punk legends. My head would implode. Ugh. I mean, I feel very lucky, and I'm very glad that I've gotten to meet and make friends and talk with, you know, all the people that I have and stuff. And, you know, it's good stuff. But listen, guys, I got to get back to this job that I'm on. I'm on a job, if you could believe it. I stopped doing the job because I wanted to do this show tonight. This was a really freaking great show. I really, truly enjoyed this. Again, check out the Patreon. Make sure you subscribe. Keep your eyes peeled for all the stuff we talked about in this episode. This is not empty pillow promises, you guys. Oh, yeah. Good. Oh, wait, hold on. There's like 1,000 comments that just popped up that were important. Is that Jerry should wear a Samhain t-shirt? This is interesting. Steve says it's not so easy to re-release the Samhain stuff due to some bullshit. There you go. There's your answer here. I'm gonna screenshot this for everybody who's always asking. There you go. Right there. Yeah, this is important. This is what I wanted to remember. Bobby Steele interview this Sunday on Drew Stone's The New York Hardcore Chronicles. That's something Steve was on actually as well. Yes, please. We need those Samhain records in our lives. I wish. Steve says, take care, fiends. And Steve says he will tell me on Sunday. Ooh, we're going to find out. We're going to find out answers on Sunday, people. Does Erie Vaughn still talk to Glenn? Bye. Bye, everybody. Okay, we got to go. Make sure to subscribe. Peace and hair grease. Peace and hair grease. All right, we're out.